Hello, my name is Yvonne Gaybauer with my crafting therapy room, and I'm going to take you on a little journey where I use one of my jelly prints as a background in my art journal. Now, I use a altered book as an art journal and loved this jelly print and knew I wouldn't be able to recreate it on a page and decided that would just be my background. I grabbed one of Lee Weber's Lotus stamps by Indigo Blue and decided I wanted to emboss it onto the page. Now, whenever I do anything like that, I'm never really sure what color is going to look the best, so I do a couple of test sheets on just some acrylic paper and then just kind of hold it up to the page and decide which one I want to use. I decided on the silver, and it's called Queen Sheba's Silver, that I thought would look great on the page. So I grabbed my Versamark stamp pad. Oh, and I'm also deciding what I'm going to use for texture. So I grabbed that Crafter's Workshop stencil. Anyway, so here's where I grab my Versamark ink pad, ink up my stamp, and adhere it onto the page. Add my embossing powder and shake it off. Now you'll notice when I do that, some of the embossing powder has gone to places on the page where I don't want it. So in other words, more embossing powder ended up on the page than just where the stamp was. And so I don't want that. So I grab a brush and you can just simply brush it away. And you want to do this before you heat set, because once you've heat set that embossing powder, it is not moving. So here's where I just take a couple of my brushes, and you can get pretty close and detailed with these stamps in a brush. Start to heat set it, and look what happens. Yep, totally disappears into the page. So yeah, that plan didn't work. So what I do is I grab the embossed image that I did on just my piece of acrylic paper and decide, you know what, this is going to work on my page. So wanted it to blend a little bit better than the stark white. So took my Liquitex Basics bright aqua green and watered it down just a little bit and painted it onto the piece of paper. Take my baby wipe and wipe it off as I go, because again, I don't want it to be in your face aqua, and I want that embossed image to show through as well. Ripped off the top of the stamp, but that's okay. I attached it afterwards to the page just with my gel medium. So yeah, like what it's done there. So grab the book back, and then I think, well, maybe if I just rubbed some of the paint over the embossed image and wipe it off, that'll work. Yeah, that didn't work. So back to square one again, and just adhered my piece of acrylic paper where I had embossed and colored it with my aqua paint. Adhere it with my Liquitex gel medium and give it a good old heat set. Then get my texture paste ready. So what I use is my Faber-Castell whipped spackle. Love this stuff. It's amazing. And I got a little piece of acetate that I saved from packaging, and that's what I use to mix up my texture paste. Now you'll notice I'm using a very little bit of that magical, and that magical is called Steel Shimmer. A little goes a long way. Wasn't quite dark enough, so grab the different palette knife, put a little bit more on, and continue to blend in the color. Now you do want to blend these magicals into whatever medium you decide to mix them with very well. Just that you don't end up with any surprise pigments showing up on your page. So put the counts back on, scrape everything back onto my little piece of acetate, add my seal for my whipped spackle because I don't want that to dry out, and bring my book back in. You'll notice my workspace is getting smaller and smaller as I go along. You'll also notice that I kind of grabbed a roll of masking tape and put it underneath the page on the other side. I like my work surface to be as level as possible, so quite often I'll build up that other page of my art journal with something underneath it, just so that I don't have things rolling off of the other page. So here, what I'm going to do now is just heat set the texture paste so I don't end up smearing it all over my page. And then I take another one of the stamps, take a couple of them. And this is a border stamp from her Rugged Edge stamp set. Love that stamp set. It just gives such a nice border on a page. And what I did at first, and you can barely see it here, but I grabbed some of my gel medium and the steel shimmer and stamped around the outside of the page. Again, it wasn't dark enough, so here I am just cleaning off the gel medium. I use a nail brush and stuff just to make sure it doesn't stick to my stamps. But it doesn't give me it doesn't show up on the page like I wanted it to. So I take my archival ink instead, same stamps, and this one here is one of the stamps out of the ink splats, it's called. And I just go over where I had already stamped with my gel medium mixed with steel shimmer magical. And so I end up with the texture from the gel medium and the stamp showing up with the archival ink over top, and the same stamps used in the same, well, relatively the same places, close enough that it didn't really matter. So this I liked a lot better. It gave me the look I was looking for, added more texture, because you can never have too much texture, and quite like how it turned out. Grabbed some lids and some acrylic paint, water, and just dipped them in, stamping some circles. You know, one of these things where you're not really sure how many you should put on, but just enough, but not too many. So just deciding as I go along. And I just keep lids off of containers as I empty them. Sometimes I'll even use a lid off of something I'm using right away, because the paint wipes off of the lids quite easily, and you can just put it back on the container you're using. So stamp the circles onto my page until I'm happy with the look. And then, of course, I've got to add some drippage. You got to have drippage, right? So again, some of that black acrylic paint, just added some water to it. Tap the book to make it flow down the page. If it's not flowing exactly as I want it to, sometimes I'll take the brush and just guide it a little bit, just so it's the trail, I guess, is started. So yeah, more water, more paint. I don't want a lot of drippage, just a little bit. So apply it till I think that's good. Clean up the paint and heat set it so we don't have it smearing all over the place. Although I did have to heat set it just a little bit more. I didn't quite have it dry enough when I started edging the pages. So take my blender tool and went over top of the stamps that I had already done, just hoping to get them just a little bit blacker where the gel medium had been, and then decide to edge my whole page. Now this is something that I like to do to a lot of my pages. It just kind of frames the page and finishes it off. So all around the outside of the page there with my, I believe I used the acrylic paint, black acrylic paint. So here I'm just taking a gel pen that just came from the dollar store. It's actually Karen's. I took it from her. And I like to try to do my lettering on my pages as much as I can. Doesn't always work depending on the design of the page, but for this one it did. Just deciding what kind of letters I want to do. I don't want anything too difficult. You can see I take my baby wipe a few times and start over, and then just decided on a very simple font that I like to use to put my quote on. So away I go. Creativity is allowing oneself to make mistakes, is what it says. And right on the left page, right page, it says art is knowing which ones to keep. So creativity is allowing oneself to make mistakes. Art is knowing which ones to keep. So there you see where I'm just playing with spacing again. This is the nice thing about having acrylic paint on a page and using a gel pen. You do have some wiggle room. Some pens don't give you that. They're pretty permanent pretty quickly. But this one does give you that. So there you go. I'm checking out the page, seeing if I like what it looks like, and there you go. Finished. Voila. You can see some of the texture as I hold it up to the camera there. You'll see some still shots here right away. So yeah, page is done. Here you can see close-ups of the texture that I ended up with on my page. And very, very happy. This wouldn't have happened had I tried to do this page on my own without using the Gelli print. So thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and share if you'd like. As always, I love to read your comments. Thank you.